Oh hey guys, and welcome to another video, and welcome to my top books of 2016 video, in where we actually say something complimentary about this year, which makes for a bit of a change. For this video I plan to make a top 5 video, but when looking back on my Goodreads challenge and seeing all the books that I read this year, I realised that 4 really stood out more than the rest, so while I intended to make this a top 5, it's actually going to be a top 4. I would like to point out that these books are in no particular order. There definitely wasn't a favourite book for me this year, I don't think, so since I have lots of complimentary things to say, we are just going to jump straight into it. The first book I have to talk about is Shirley Jackson's We Have Always Lived in the Castle. Now this was my first Shirley Jackson novel, and I really don't understand why it took me so long to get into her, because I really enjoyed this one. The story revolves around two sisters and their wheelchair-bound uncle, and there's sort of been a bit of a drama in the past, but it turns out that one of the sisters actually poisoned most of her family, and because of that, they're sort of ostracized from the village and everybody in the village hates them. As I've said in a previous video, I found the opening chapter of this book to be really good. Probably one of the best opening chapters I've read in a very long time. It definitely sets up the theme and the tone of the novel. It's quite unsettling, and it weirdly almost has this element of dark comedy, which I really appreciated, because dark comedy really is something that's hard to do well. As the book moves on, it's basically all about how these girls try to force themselves away from society. They are hermits who live in this house, and I really also love the sort of double-barrel happy/somber ending where the same situation happens, but for one character it's a really good thing and the other you feel sort of sorry for. Since reading this one, I have also read The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson, which I also liked, but I would like to point out that I definitely did not like it as much as this one, and that's why this one is on my top 4 books of 2016. The next book I have to talk to you about is Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer, and this is just a very strange and surreal, almost mindfuck of a book. I'm just gonna say that. The story basically revolves around this sort of quarantine zone, and every so often a group of scientists is sent into the zone to study what is there, as nobody really knows what is happening within it. Our main character here is a scientist whose husband was on a previous trip, and it's sort of known that if you go on one of these expeditions, that chances are you won't be coming back, or if you do, you will be coming back insane. I don't know how they get these people to sign up, but apparently people do. We basically follow our main character on her journey as she enters the zone and everything she sees there, and a lot of what she sees there does not make sense. The first thing I did when I finished reading this book, I definitely knew that I'd enjoyed it, but I really didn't know what so much I had enjoyed. The first thing I did was Google it. I basically typed into Google, "Can someone please explain Jeff Vandermeer's Annihilation?" And this is actually something that I recommend to anybody who reads this book, because it really does delve more into the themes and the author's intentions with the novel and the bits that you perhaps may not have gotten. It's sort of that thing where one little thing is pointed out to you, and then all of a sudden more of the novel seems to make sense as a whole. I know the book also has 2 sequels, which I believe are more sidequels, which I have not read yet, but if you have read them, please let me know in the comments below what I would think of them. The next book I have to talk about is Jasper Jones by Craig Silvey. This is sort of an Australian contemporary YA novel that deals with themes of friendship and also murder and suicide. The titular character of Jasper Jones is a boy in the neighbourhood who everybody seems to think is trouble. Jasper Jones is known to sort of be dating this girl, and one day she goes missing, and when he goes to his place that he used to meet her in the woods, he finds her hanging from a tree. Not so romantic, really. Worried that people are going to think that he actually did this to her and not herself, he enlists the help of our main character to sort of decide what to do in the situation, and they decide to dump the body in the lake. It's not a good decision in the slightest, but that is what they decide to do, and the rest of the novel sort of deals with the town trying to find this girl, and sort of how a friendship develops between them because of it. It's a very strange novel tonally, I guess. Definitely stands out. And it does ask some interesting questions. I can't remember if it's actually confirmed in the book, but Jasper Jones is apparently an Aboriginal child, so it sort of deals with those issues of race and class, and people's perception of those things through that character. Overall, I really enjoyed this book, and I would definitely recommend it if you're looking for a sort of morbid take on friendship. So the last book I'm going to talk about is one that has been on BookTube for a very, very long time, has been recommended to me many times, and I've owned for a very long time, but I've only just gotten around to reading it, and that is Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. I actually finished this on the last day of 2016, and I knew about 100 pages in that this was probably going to be on my favourites. It's just such a nostalgia trip into the world of video games and the 80s. I can't think of another word to describe it other than really, really fun. Most of this book actually takes place in virtual reality, where our character sort of takes control of an avatar, and I just thought this book was actually really well explained in the sort of science or the system that they actually use. Like, I could see it being a real thing in the future. I don't think anybody really needs to know what this book is about by now, but I'm just going to say that it really shouldn't have taken me this long to get to this book, because I finished it in 2 sittings, and the font is freaking tiny. Probably the perfect way to end 2016 for me. So there you have it, those are my top 4 books of 2016. I hope you enjoyed this video, as always. I hope everybody had a great new year, and let's just hope that 2017 goes a lot better than 2016. Bye!